Surrender is an amazing act of kindness for yourself because you're not battling your mental body. You're not battling your ego. You're not battling your inner child. You're not battling your physical body. And yes, it might feel like when you're going through it and you have some angst or you're nervous or you're scared or whatever it is that you're feeling, you might feel like you're battling it. But once you give yourself permission to surrender, it's amazing. Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited you are here. In life, you are going to experience change. We all know this, right? The question is, how can you befriend change in a way that allows you to surrender to it? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by surrendering to it. I have a good practice that I like to practice in my business, and that is if someone cancels at the last minute, I usually never get upset. And it's not that it might not be annoying that they're canceling at the last minute. I always just love the fact that there has been made space in my day unexpectedly. And that change is welcome because that space sometimes is beyond necessary for my mind, body, and soul. And so the change in the schedule is unexpected, but I'm always embracing it. Now, I do have really good boundaries with my clients. And if something does happen unexpectedly, I welcome the change. And the reason also for this is sometimes the universe wants me to have some free time to just breathe, to go take a nap, to go take a walk, to catch up on emails, to do whatever it is that I meant to do. And I always just celebrate it. And so this is one of my ways of embracing change in my day if someone unexpected cancels on me at the last minute. And I embrace it. This can also carry over into other things that are changing in my life or in your life, because when we surrender to that possibility of change, what we're doing is giving ourselves the opportunity to have a different sense of control. And I like saying control because you get to control the way you react to the change. You get to control the way you navigate the change. You get to control what your steps are and throughout the change and after the change. And so if you don't surrender and you resist the change, you're either going to sit there and wallow in a certain emotion that doesn't serve your highest good, or you're going to blink and it's gone and you didn't even get to experience the journey fully. You don't really recognize what and how you learned throughout the experience itself. Surrender is an amazing act of kindness for yourself because you're not battling your mental body. You're not battling your ego. You're not battling your inner child. You're not battling your physical body. And yes, it might feel like when you're going through it and you have some angst or you're nervous or you're scared or whatever it is that you're feeling, you might feel like you're battling it. But once you give yourself permission to surrender, it's amazing. I know for me, I used to work in the car business as a finance manager, and I craved change. Like I really wanted change, and I decided, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna move. I was planning on moving to a different state, and I realized that that decision wasn't the right decision for me, but I already knew that I needed a break from work. And when I took that break, it was so well deserved and it felt so good. And it took a lot of heart and a lot of guts to go, I just told everybody that I'm moving, and then I changed my mind. Because oftentimes we might make a decision around change and then change our mind, but we decide to go in a different direction, and we might feel embarrassed about what other people might think or say. And for me, I know that that particular decision on wanting to move was the catalyst to take a break, and that it was the absolute necessary thing for me to do. But I knew deep down in my heart that moving wasn't where I was supposed to go. I was supposed to stay where I lived, and I was supposed to stay home, and I was supposed to just be there, but I needed a break. And I took a well-deserved break. And then when I went back, I worked for the same company, but I decided to go back to a different dealership. And when I went back to this different dealership, I wasn't really in love with the dealership. I really didn't care for the culture of the dealership. I didn't care for some of the people that I worked with. And it wasn't necessarily that they were bad people. I just didn't, our personalities just didn't, they just kind of clashed. And I really liked my old dealership, and I wanted to go back to my old dealership. And I remember one of the sales managers pointed out something to me one day, because I was just like, I don't want to be here. Like, I just want to go home. And she goes, do you realize you say that every day? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I need to do something about it. And I got up and I called our VP immediately and asked if I could be transferred. And the reason why I never asked to go back to begin with is because I needed to change the scenery. But I realized that the change that I had made was only a temporary change, and I felt more comfortable and it felt more at home going back to where I was. And so you can see how change can be so complicated, because there's all these different decisions that are involved. And in this case, the VP was like, absolutely, you can go back. They'll welcome you with open arms. And I went back, and it was awesome. And I worked there until I decided to transition to go back to school and all that other stuff. And so the cool part is no matter what, there are going to be big emotions and big feelings that are connected to the changes that you are making and the decisions that you are making. And the key to change is surrender and to be honest with yourself. The more honest you are with yourself on what is happening within you and what is it that you truly want, the easier it is for you to actually navigate the change that you are seeking or having to seek. Because sometimes we have change just thrown upon us without ever discussing it ahead of time with the universe. For example, you might have a loved one that gets into a car accident and they need your assistance to support them and take care of them and to help them while they're healing. So that is a temporary change that just kind of gets thrown on your lap without any discussion ahead of time. And you can't predict those types of things. And you can't prepare for those types of things. I mean, you could kind of prepare for if there was an emergency ever, what would you do and what would that look like? However, how you navigate in that exact moment, you never know, right? And so when you are going through change and navigating change, ask yourself questions. Ask yourself how you're feeling, and ask yourself if you're scared and what you're scared of. Because when you answer the question, what am I scared of? It takes the boogeyman out of the closet. It pulls them out from underneath the bed, where you're not hiding from the boogeyman anymore. What you're doing is you're addressing the fear head on. And when you address the fear head on, you can unpack it in a way that allows you to feel empowered, that allows you to take some sense of control and responsibility for how you're going to navigate it moving forward. It also assists you in getting the next step. So let's say you are scared to navigate this change. And when you ask yourself that question and you reveal an answer to yourself that you're scared of failing, the next question is why am I scared of failing? And then you can go down this rabbit hole, and then you can realize that, oh, well, I don't feel prepared, or I feel like an imposter, or I'm scared to be seen. These are all things that you can work on then with yourself and with someone else if need be. So I know for me, like when I was navigating transitioning from my one career into what I do now, I know that I was terrified, like absolutely terrified of losing my income, terrified of what people would think of me, terrified that I would fail. And the more that I sat and wallowed in those fears, the longer it took me to take the leap of faith. And when I actually took action towards saying, I'm going to do this no matter what, and then addressing casually throughout the time that once I made that declaration, I'm going to do this no matter what, I started addressing fears slowly but surely that would creep up, and I would have to address them so that I could make the changes in my life that was necessary for me to make in order to become the person who I wanted to become, to do the things that I wanted to do. Also, change can be the way that you communicate with yourself. And this is where I think it's really important for people to be really honest with themselves when it comes to self-worth, self-esteem, feeling good enough, things like that. Because what you say to yourself throughout the day dictates how you are going to change or not change for the better or for the worse. And if you're constantly talking, let's say, about your weight and how you don't like your body, or let's say you're talking about your intelligence, or you're talking about your money in a negative way, these are all things that are sending signals out to the universe that says you don't want to change that you want to keep that ingrained into your life, into your energy signature, into your reality. The more that you realize that your words are creating your reality and keeping you stagnant, the more that you will have the opportunity to stop saying the things that are causing you harm. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and this friend just kept talking about their body and their weight and their confidence as well. And I finally said to this person, I said, I want you to make a pact. You're not going to say one bad negative thing about yourself the rest of the day. And instantly, this person started making an excuse why they needed to beat themselves up. And it comes down to self-worth. And I'm guilty of this myself. I know that for a long time I would make fun of my intelligence. I would make fun of my my ability to know certain things and my confidence and my self-worth. And so when I started working on shifting my mindset and shifting my words and changing those words and what I said to myself, I stopped saying those harmful things to myself, and I started feeling more confident and feeling more connected with myself in a different way. But I had to surrender to the fact that I was doing those harmful things to myself. And it can be a hard pill to swallow at times. And I want to encourage you, and going back to one more thing before I go to this next thought, this friend of mine did say, oh, you're so right. Like, I am doing that, right? And sometimes we do need and require people to call us out, because sometimes we are so stuck on a loop where we are repeating a pattern over and over and over and over and over and over again that we are so oblivious to it because it's so normal. It is so beyond normal for our vocabulary, for the way we think, or for the way we act, or for the way we react. And the thing is you are hurting yourself. And you deserve to have the reality that you want. You deserve to experience change in a positive or neutral way. Your words are going to lift you up and help you rise, or they are going to knock you down and keep you stuck. So pay attention to what you are saying, especially when it comes to change. A good example of this would be when someone goes, "over my dead body." There might be something that someone says around change and they're like, "over my dead body." Well, that's a clear sign that you're resisting change, but sometimes change is inevitable. Sometimes change is important. And I know that some of the biggest changes I've had in my life didn't come without fears, and didn't come without big emotions, and didn't come without all of the mixed emotions that come with it. Because you can be super excited about change and also yet really scared to do it at the same time, and you drag your feet and you miss an opportunity because you're too scared to take the leap of faith. Whatever the course is, ask yourself what you're fearful of, and then continue to ask yourself why, so that you can navigate the change that you're wanting to have or is thrown upon you, and you can get the support and help you need for that change if necessary as well. And remember, change in the long run, even if in the beginning feels hard, change in the long run is always, always going to have a blessing for you at the end. Even if we don't see it, even if it's gut-wrenching on what that change is, there is always going to be some sort of blessing that you will be rewarded with in the end, no matter what the circumstances is. And I want to emphasize that piece as well, because sometimes we might have a loved one that transitions and it feels really hard, and this change of not having that loved one around can feel gut-wrenching, but their passing can be a blessing in a weird way, and their soul is at peace, or the family gets to be at peace, or you get to experience something different because they lead you from the other side towards something that you never would have expected. And so they get to be a guide and a support system from the other side. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Please make sure you like and subscribe and share this with a friend. Talk to you soon. Bye.